On today's show, an Alien sequel idea that will have you saying, Jesus Christ! The Rock makes a cameo, and last but certainly not least, the elephant that's gonna make me cry is coming to theaters. We got a new poster and a whole lot more. Collider Movie Talk starts right now.
Jesus Christ!
Whenever I do take the Lord's name in vain, I try to do it like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. When they see the rabbit for the first time, you gotta watch the movie to get it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is merely Mark Ellis. Yes, I wore a vest, and it's Wednesday, so I definitely wore pink. Thanks for the fashion tip, Ashley Mova. That is Haleigh Foutch. Over there is John, the Outlaw Rocha. A whole lot of fun news stories to get to. It is hump day, and I'm very excited. I'm in a good mood. Why? Because in, about 3 hours, I'm gonna be seeing a little movie called Creed numero 2.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know that I expected to feel this excited about the movie, the day of the movie. I was really getting ramped up the last few months. What's the last film that y'all were going to see that you really got like jacked for? Like, I can't believe I get to see this movie.
Maybe Avengers Infinity War. I was pretty hyped about that.
Yep. I would
have to agree with that, Avengers Infinity War, and then Creed 2.
Okay.
Which I'm going tonight to see as well.
Are you going to see it?
I want to record your reaction afterwards.
Well,
I want to juxtapose the joy versus hopefully the same joy or utter disappointment.
I am taking all the precautions necessary. I will have my personal trainer on standby right outside of the theater. I will be dressed to work out. So as soon as I see the movie, I'm heading right to the gym. I was very excited to see Black Panther, very excited to see A Quiet Place, Avengers Infinity War, even Solo. I don't think anything compares this year to Creed 2. So we got a fantastic piece yesterday. We'll talk about that in a little bit. First of all, we have some breaking news courtesy of our own Jeff Snyder. He just broke this story. You can check out the full tale on Collider.com. Lily James and Armie Hammer, they are set to star in a new movie that's a remake of an old movie, but I'm not supposed to use the R word in this case unless I'm talking about the title of the film. That would be Rebecca, the 1940 movie that, as our crack research team, Rocha, Haleigh, and myself discovered was Alfred Hitchcock's first nomination for Best Director, was not nominated for Best Picture. Rebecca, it's being retold in a way that's going to have a new script. So it was based on a novel from the late 1920s. They're going to rewrite it somehow, some way, and then put it on Netflix. This all according to Jeff Snyder. And like I said, this news just came across our desk around 3:30. Now, the 1940 film starred Sir Laurence Olivier, Joan Fontaine, John Rocha. Haleigh Foutch.
Yes.
Have we seen the original Rebecca? Does it need to be remade? Is it too soon to remake the 1940 film?
Well, look, it won Best Picture. It's out.
Oh, it did win Best Picture.
I think you got confused in our squabbles.
They were going at it.
We had a bit of a battle off camera. Who was right? Who was wrong? Schmoedown competitors do that, and lovers of movies do that. But yeah, Hitchcock was nominated. It won Best Picture. It's a fantastic Criterion. If you haven't picked up that Criterion collection, a lot of great documentaries about the making of that movie and the movie itself. You know, Laurence Olivier, Joan Fontaine, a lot of stuff in that movie. To me, I remember when I went in high school to the premiere of this movie in 1940. It was incredible to be there in the theater with Alfred Hitchcock and watch him enjoy his own movie. This idea that you want to remake it, though, is kind of interesting if they do a whole new take on it, and reverse the roles. Maybe it is the woman who's the one who wants the man to be just like her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, and see if she's the one manipulating the situation. That would be fun to watch versus what is majority of Hitchcock's films, which is the men and their mania ruling the situation, except for obviously the birds. But most of the time, it's the men in the movies ruling stuff in Hitchcock's movies. It'd be nice to be a little bit of a switch here with the remake. Maybe that's what they're talking about.
I believe in The Birds, it was mostly male birds that were attacking. Jane Goldman is writing the script this time around, so I'll give you the details as far as I know them. Follows a newly married young woman who visits her husband's imposing family estate on a bleak English coast, says Hill House, where she finds herself battling the shadow of his first dead wife. I hate when that happens. The mysterious Rebecca, whose legacy continues to haunt the house. So I have not seen the 1940 version, Haleigh, so how much does this sound similar or dissimilar? Is this going to be a remake?
I mean, that's very similar, but that's also very similar to the novel. So it's an adaptation. I mean, there is a difference. I don't... Unless he's actually trying to remake Hitchcock's shots, which we saw with Psycho is not necessarily a great idea.
Or even the same thing that you could have said with the Shining version that was a mini-series that had Steven Weber from the great show Wings, where it's like you're not remaking Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Correct.
You're just doing a different and more faithful adaptation of Stephen King's original.
Correct, and it's really gutsy because it's Hitchcock, and it's Hitchcock's Best Picture winner, and it's a brilliant, beautiful film. So there's a really high bar to clear there, even if you're not trying to copy what Hitchcock did. Ben Wheatley's a really interesting filmmaker, though. He's weird, and I like it. And I'm curious what his spin on the material will be. And I'm really curious what it will look like, because Hitchcock, of course, had such a strong sense of style. And Wheatley does as well, but it's not a comparable style.
Yeah, Ben Wheatley directing it. He also did High Rise. So is this going to be a hit for Netflix? They're partnering up with Working Title, who's a well-known production studio, does a lot of quality stuff. So do you think this is the right fit for Netflix? I mean, we see more and more of these situations where this is going to be somewhat of a high-profile project, and it's a name brand to some extent that's going to be landing. I think this is the perfect place to land it, because Netflix has showed very recently, like for me last night, that they're really good at delivering horror content. You have The Haunting of Hill House, like I mentioned. You have Haunted, which is a series of interpretations of real ghost stories. There's a lot of good stuff that's in the horror genre on Netflix right now. This seems to fit right in, Rocha.
Yeah, I agree. And because Wheatley likes to do these like smaller type approaches to films, Free Fire is I enjoyed the hell out of Free Fire.
Yeah,
I might have been one of the only people.
No, I like that movie.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Something Haleigh and I agree with once and for all. Like I was in the theater.
You turn the cameras on, and it's all friendly in this studio.
But like I was watching in the theater, and I couldn't understand why other people weren't enjoying it as much as I was. I really love this take on it. It's just one warehouse and a big old shootout, and he made it work and made it interesting with all these interesting characters in the casting. So the casting though is where I think I might have a little bit of a snag. I think it's great. It'll be great on Netflix. Just saw that Jeffrey Wright film recently about the wolves. That was fantastic horror on Netflix. So I have no problem with it being on Netflix. It went great. My issue is Army. Like Lily is huge, but Army is hit or miss in terms of people's reception to him being in films, right? Man from U.N.C.L.E. didn't do that well. Lone Ranger was pilloried, and Sorry to Bother You. That's more Lakeith Stanfield's film than it is anything with Hammer. So this idea, he's a great choice in terms of look, and he'll have the voice to play like an old English guy and all this kind of jazz. But I just wonder if he's going to have the like that thing that Olivier had. Like it was Olivier. Like that's a footsteps you're following in. So I'm concerned about that, and especially his Stan Lee tweet recently. Maybe that doesn't engender a lot of interest from people as well. So I just worry about that.
Haleigh, does that make you nervous as well? Are you still going to bury Armie Hammer for the Lone Ranger, or do you think that it's more Man from U.N.C.L.E. Armie Hammer?
I'm Team Hammer. I like Armie Hammer a lot. I think you're right that he gets mixed receptions, but I think his performances, even in The Lone Ranger, are pretty solid, and he does what is asked of him always. Even Call Me By Your Name, which was really that was Timothée Chalamet's film, but Armie Hammer had to play sort of, not to be cute, but like the straight man to all the emotional work that Timothée Chalamet was doing. He had to be really in himself and not expressive as much, and he killed it. I think he's fantastic. I can't wait to see him play some fancy rich guy, because guess what? He has a lifetime of training for that role.
Oh,
yeah, that
comes from
God.
the
Armie Hammer guy?
Yeah.
Armie Hammer, Armie Hammer. Get
Step
it?
aside, man.
Yeah.
Let another actor step in.
You hear about the bank account. This man's product is in every refrigerator across the world, and now he's going to be in a remake. I didn't say that word. I just said Rebecca, a new version of the classic novel Rebecca. In less breaking news, the Alien franchise. We don't know what's happening with it, but we did find a report that Ridley Scott has ideas, and he's mentioned that he's had ideas as far back as before Alien Covenant was released. Alien Covenant came out to mixed reviews, and that includes the panelists and myself here. Some people really liked it, some people hated it, and then some people were just in the middle. But this report of what the future of the Alien franchise could be is that Ridley Scott had a plan for the next film, and it was going to tie everything up into a neat little bow, sort of. So you remember Michael Fassbender? He was he was David, and he just he went a little off his program, so to speak. And everybody's pretty much dead except for David. But we would have the engineers from Prometheus be looking for David, and in order to find him, they have to go to LV. Is it 426?
426.
That's a 5-pointer. LV 426. That planet sounds familiar. That's a planet from the first Alien movie way back in the late 70s. So they're going to go back there, and then, okay, everybody knows how everything worked out, and we're all done with Alien, right? Here's the fun part. Apparently in the script somewhere, the engineers were thinking, you know what, that Earth thing, that Earth experiment that we're working on, it's not going right. The humans are getting a little squirrely, so we're going to send an emissary The emissary's name, you guessed it, Jesus H. Christ. That was going to be in the script. So apparently that they felt that might be too on the nose.
Oh, that is too on the nose.
So they moved away from it. But this is very interesting because this is a script that was written by John Logan. He co-wrote Alien Covenant, so he's working closely. The follow-up film would be called Alien Awakening. Not sure how this has evolved since then because, I mean, look, it's Ridley Scott. The guy has a lot of imagination, a lot of creative ideas, whatever he wants to tell who's working on his scripts. He could wake up tomorrow, he could have woken up yesterday and said, let's get rid of the Jesus thing, let's get rid of the engineers thing, let's get rid of the David thing. He could all change momentarily. What my question to the panelists is this version of this movie going to happen? And if so, do you want to see it? Haleigh Foutch, you get to have a crack first.
Field this one. I do want to see it. I want to see whatever the heck Ridley Scott wants to do with this weird set of prequels he's made. They're not great, but they sure are interesting and beautiful. You can throw a lot of complaints at Prometheus and Covenant, but you cannot say they are not gorgeous looking films.
Prometheus is an incredibly looking film. I would say not so much Covenant, and yes, I'm the one that does not like Covenant at all. I hated that movie, but I was a big fan of Prometheus. I think I liked Prometheus more than most people did, and I was so intrigued with what the engineers could bring to the table. I didn't know they're going to be bringing the baby Jesus to the table, but that's an interesting wrinkle. But Haleigh, don't you worry about that? Not just putting off a sect of fans, but also Disney, who would be getting their hands on Fox and all the Fox properties, because this is 20th Century Fox that is going to get bought by Disney.
Yeah.
Do you think that Disney might have a little more hesitation to put that particular storyline in place of anything else that we could think of?
Right. I don't know about the Jesus bit, because that's been around for a while, like that rumor, to the point where I would suspect that he would have moved on from that idea because it's been in the story so much. Honestly, though, partly because of the Disney thing, I don't see it getting made anyway, which breaks my heart and the heart of like 3 other people. But
you don't see this version of it getting made, or you don't see any version getting made?
I am very skeptical that we will see definitely the 2 more films he said he wanted to do in this franchise, and even 1 more. I'd like to see at least 1 more to try to wrap up this admittedly totally unnecessary mythology he's built out. But I would like to see it all tie in together. I have my doubts. I always had my doubts as soon as those box office numbers came in on Covenant, and especially with the Disney deal coming through, it seems less and less likely to.
Yeah, the report that I brought up comes courtesy of Empire. So, Rocha, I want to spin that forward to you. Do you think that once Fox gets swallowed up by Disney, do you think that I think Alien's going to be in their plans at some point in the future. Sure. Is Ridley Scott going to be in their plans for more Alien films?
I think he'll go the James Cameron route, where he'll executive produce. He'll be sitting on the sidelines. But there are too many great young film directors who are really killing it in the horror genre right now, who are probably influenced by Alien and influenced by the early Ridley Scott work, and would love a chance to get their take on the xenomorphs and that whole universe, and the engineers, if you want to bring back the engineers, and of course the planet. I'm sure they'll stay away from the Jesus Christ thing. That just makes all kinds of sense for so many reasons.
I'm intrigued by that.
Of course, as film fans who are a little more liberal-minded, we're willing to see that. But there's a majority of the country that would have a real issue with that. So that's where I'm coming from. Not from a whether it should or shouldn't happen, more from a business place, and it feels like Disney wouldn't do that.
I don't have a religious problem with it, but
some people
it can get really bad. Some people might, and that's why I would, if I'm Disney, I'm like, wait, what are we buying here?
Right.
But it can come off really stupid too.
As well.
It's like, let's send Jesus, and then we'll have a spaceship guide, 3 wise guys that are going to walk over, and let's get like, how much into the Bible are you going to get? It just seems like it's a little too, like they mentioned, on the nose. So I think it should go somewhere else. I like the risk. I like that these ideas come up though.
Sure.
I like that if you're writing, you're throwing everything against the wall and you're seeing what sticks, because that really spurs on the creative process. Is, hey, let's kick around this Jesus idea a little bit. Let's kick around, hey, let's send Napoleon there. Let's send Caesar. Let's just have some fun with this. I'm not saying I want to see those movies, but I like that they're pushing the creative envelope with this.
You saw that with The Matrix, right? Neo is essentially Jesus in The Matrix, right? It's trying to save the world, blah, blah, blah. So you see that savior complex in sci-fi a lot. And in horror, in sci-fi horror a lot, which is essentially what this is. But I think it would be a huge misstep to go that route now. My curiosity is with the Disney situation, because because, Deadpool is releasing a PG-13 version of their film, just maybe as a dry run as a Fox film, trying to see what that'd be like on the Disney scope. What would happen here? Could you do a PG-13 Alien movie? Remember, Dark Knight, The Dark Knight is PG-13, and that's pretty dark for a lot of people. So could you do a PG-13 Alien film that wouldn't necessarily have all it's the gore that you're allowed to get away with, and that's basically the tenet of most of these Alien movies is, showing the birth and the busting out of the stomach. Maybe that wouldn't put it in the PG-13 range. It's more the nudity and the cuss words to get you in the PG-13 range. So I want to see how that would play out with an Alien movie, and maybe a little bit of constraint wouldn't be a negative. A little bit of parameters as you're trying to create this thing wouldn't necessarily be a negative. But the engineers ending up on LV-420, that would just make me so excited just to wrap this thing up. Now, you're asking me personally, would I like to see Ridley Scott come back? Absolutely. I would love to have him come back, finish this whole thing. I'm a fan of creators finishing out what they create. It's very tough for someone to step in and take over and bring their visions to life because they didn't start this thing. So to me, I'd love it. I just don't see it happening. I think he's at that age and he's got other projects going on. He'll be 80 by the time he gets this thing. I don't know.
Haley, do you think that we could be a little too knee-jerk with our reactions to this idea or the concept in the future of once Disney takes full control, a PG-13 Alien film, or do you think there's just no way that should ever happen?
I'm not a fan of a PG-13 Alien film, but this is one of my favorite franchises. Alien is one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time, and I love every single Alien movie, no matter how bad it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's my Transformers.
Okay.
That's your Transformers.
There you go. Yeah.
Respect.
I'm glad we're taping this. He admitted it.
So I don't like that idea. I also don't know that I'm convinced that Disney's going to PG-13ify all of Fox's properties.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think they could have a separate house where they allow more adult content, like they've done in the past. I think it was Buena Vista that was allowed to do more R-rated features.
And Touchdown as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't do it to Alien. Like, let Alien be Alien. It's got decades of this entrenched R rating and things that fans love to see in these films, and those do call for an R rating.
Yeah, do we get Blomkamp? Do we finally get him to come back
I don't
and
think
maybe
so.
do something
Well,
on
that
the
was
Disney window?
It's very when you talk about this idea and how risky it is from a political, from a religious viewpoint. If you were going to have any hint of an emissary, you don't even have to be like, all right, good luck, Jesus. You can just say we're sending an emissary and to this planet where things are going wrong, right? Neil Blomkamp loves sinking his teeth into stuff that has deeper meanings, and sometimes people rebel against that. I mean, a lot of people didn't like Elysium because they felt like they were being hit over the head with health insurance and that kind of thing. But I thought it was great. A lot of people didn't. Chappie, same thing. District 9, I think that critically and the fan response was a lot more positive to that film. But Neil Blomkamp is a version of Alien that I would like to see. And I'm not sure where Haley's going to go, or even you, Rocha. I'm going to give you guys door number 1 or door number 2.
Okay.
Door number 1 is another run with Ridley Scott directing an Alien movie.
Okay.
Door number 2 is another director stepping in, and Sigourney Weaver comes back to the Alien franchise. What do you like? Which door are we walking in? I love doing this stuff.
That's tough. I personally pick 1. I want to see Ridley finish off. This is his franchise from the beginning. I want to see him put his definitive end mark on it. And like I said, I like Covenant. I like this weird ass stuff that he's doing. These are weird movies, man. Like David playing the flute with himself. When do you see that in a big budget movie? So yeah, I want the weird one.
Okay, Haley's going door number 1. She took Ridley Scott, John Rocha.
There is a director. What's it? I can't remember the name of the French guy. Did Arrival. It's going out of my head.
Oh,
Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve is like,
Dude, you got to get
listen,
in shape.
it is my favorite director. He is my favorite director working today. I've been talking about him all day today, and all of a sudden he slipped out of my mind. So I take door number 2, Denis Villeneuve stepping in and doing his version of an Alien movie, which would have all the large concepts being explored there with him. Another possibility is Nolan. A Nolan Alien movie would be very interesting.
Nolan has no interest in sexuality, and I think that the Alien films have always sort of been rooted in sex and their inherent metaphor. So I find that to be a strange pick. But Villeneuve, that's a very hard door not to walk.
Yeah, when you say David playing the flute with himself, now I get what you're saying. The sexual stuff. I get it now, Haley.
Yeah.
I never looked at it that way, and now I do.
Well, you should revisit probably all the films then.
John Rocha, you got a lot of Schmoedown matches coming up. So you okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been studying so much, my brain it's liquefying and dripping out of my head.
Okay, well then with that, we will move on to our next topic, and that is a movie that is fraught with sexual overtones, Dumbo. You got a new poster for Dumbo, and boy is it colorful. Take a look at that. Woo! It's just right up there. It looks like one of those peppermint candies you get at a fancy restaurant like an Olive Garden or an Arby's after you're done dining. Dumbo flying into theaters in 2019, March 29th. It's got an incredible cast. First trailer made me tear up because I was watching the trailer and I was also remembering the animated film that is very problematic, but has that one part where it's Dumbo and his mom and she's in jail, wrongfully accused. Oh God, I got to move on or else you're having movie trivia knowledge drip out of your ears. I'm gonna have salty discharge from the eyes. So John Rocha, take over from me. Talk about this Dumbo poster. Are you excited about the movie directed by Tim Burton?
Look, I love America as much as everybody else, but red, white, blue, for God's sakes, it's like all over this poster. But I do think the design of it is fantastic because it's Dumbo coming to you. It's a big old spotlight, and everyone is around the side of, as you would be in a circus. You get that vibe. Of course, the tent being red and white works as well, and then you have the blue thrown in there to give you that vibe. Most international flag colors are red, white, or blue. Have some version of that. Have some combination of that. So I think it's a smart poster. I like it. It certainly catches your attention, and it's vibrant and it's bright, and that's what you want. You want people to notice this live action adaptation. I don't think they want to have the Pete's Dragon situation again. I think they want that Jungle Book. They want people running to the theater to see this. And some people I've heard on the corners of the internet are a little hesitant about seeing this version for a number of reasons. Tim Burton wondering if he's going to be able to capture any magic with this, and if he's going to make it too dark.
Yeah, I mean, is it going to be too dark? And then you see this, and it's like, what is this? Is this pro-America? Is this a rah-rah movies?
Right.
Is this movie all about elephant patriotism? Haleigh, explain to me the thinking, the logic possibly behind this poster. It is very colorful. It is very vibrant. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I have no idea. You know, you make a good point, Rocha. Maybe it's pro-France. There are many flags that have these colors.
There you go.
Or Costa Rica.
It's
or
catchy.
Denmark.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Take your pick. You know, we're not the only country in the world.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
I don't. It's fine. It's a poster. It looks cute. I don't know. I don't have a lot of opinions on it. It does look really circusy, so well done in that front.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Tim Burton doing circus stuff because he always has had a sort of fascination with that world, and so I do think this is a pretty good fit. At first, I was a little confused by it, and then I revisited Big Fish, and I was like, oh, maybe.
Yeah. Do you think Tim Burton still has a fastball? I mean, from the trailer, from footage you've heard of, apparently the early returns from people saw, I think CinemaCon, they aired like some extended footage of it and got pretty good reviews.
I think every great director who was once great still has a curveball somewhere, or still has a fastball somewhere in there. It depends on the material. But I will say this: I wonder if this is the Burton-verse. I wonder if that's the Danny DeVito character, now older from Big Fish. If that's the kind of situation there, because he was also, I think, the Barker at the carnival there. So I don't know. A Burton-verse would be interesting.
I'm into it.
I would hope it's Danny DeVito's character from Taxi. That's who I want to see.
Louis
Helming.
Louis, what's his last name? Do you remember? I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Louis something.
I remember watching Taxi on Nick at Night when I was a kid. It's a funny show. All right, we're going to move on to our next story. Before we do that, I want to remind y'all that we got some reviews coming your way, and they're available right now. You can check out the Fantastic Beasts review, The Crimes of Grindelwald, and Ralph Breaking the Internet. It's Wreck-It Ralph sequel. You guys can check out both those reviews on Collider.com right now. Schmo's review for Ralph is up, and we're going to have the review for Crimes of Grindelwald up tomorrow. One of us liked it. One of us didn't understand it and can't really form an opinion on it because of that.
Yep.
And now we move on to our next story. That is the Wonder Park trailer. We got a pair of trailers to close us out here in Wonder Park. This trailer, look at this. Look, if I tell you that Nickelodeon's going to do an animated movie and it's going to be this cool theme mark, and then get this, chimpanzees. Chimpanzees, overrun it. Nothing is more adorable than a chimp that's a zombie that's animated. I want to keep one somewhere. I don't know if they're a danger to me as a real live boy, but certainly they're going to wreak some havoc in the animated world. Haleigh Foutch, do you want to go to Wonder Park before, during, or after the chimp zombie apocalypse?
Can I choose all three? I'm in. I've got, I'm going to see this. Put me down for a ticket. I love theme parks. I love zombies. I'm partial to chimps, I guess. They're cute. But I think it's a really fun idea to do an animated theme park movie, and I'm surprised there haven't been like a whole bunch of them by now.
Got some pretty impressive vocal talent there, Rocha.
Yeah.
You in on the chimpanzee zombies overrunning Wonder Park?
Yeah, I enjoyed the trailer for what it was. John Oliver, you could pick his voice out. Mila Kunis is doing one of the voice. Matthew Broderick is doing a voice, I think. So
Jennifer Garner.
Jennifer
Keena
Garner, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Jennifer Garner. So that excites me all around in that way as actors. But it struck me like Tomorrowland, this idea of like the two different realities existing at the same time, one being influenced by the other. She has this whole world. Now remember, this all happens after she falls down and hits her head in the forest. So we don't know if this is a dream or real. You see that in the trailer. So how much of that is part of what she's working out there? Because we see her at the beginning of the trailer throwing her old stuff into the fire, saying that's not, maybe she's like, maybe it's like Inside Out, where she's making this change. She's in puberty, making this change from a young girl into a young adult. And so what is that all about? So to me, that excites me all around. I didn't really see any villains other than the chimpanzee zombies, but they were like cute villains. So you can really hate them. So I like that it's a fun family film. Looks like it'll check all the boxes and people will enjoy it.
First rule of comedy, nothing is funnier than chimps in tuxedos smoking cigars. It's the funniest thing you'll ever see. No human can replicate that kind of comedy. Haleigh mentioned you're a big fan of theme parks.
Yeah.
Favorite ride at a theme park of all time? What's the theme park? What's the ride? Is it a coaster? Is it teacups? Hit me with some knowledge.
I do love the teacups. I grew up in Orange County, so Disneyland's like my home away from home, but it's the Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
If that's a surprise to anyone.
Yeah, the Haunted Mansion. It's long line, but it's a fun line to be in because you're outside the mansion. You get to go inside. It's fun.
You just got to get that fast pass going, you know?
Yeah, the fast pass for the Haunted Mansion really kicks in. John Rocha?
What a surprise. She's so on brand. Horror.
Maybe you see Rebecca in the Haunted Mansion.
No, mine is, Busch Gardens, King Cobra. The King Cobra. Remember the Cobra? The
Busch Gardens.
what was the name? Or was it King's Dominion?
In Williamsburg, Virginia?
Was it King's Dominion?
King's Dominion.
The one that had the big King Cobra?
Yeah.
King Cobra, that one.
Yeah.
Because it would go all the way up, and then you'd go backwards. And I remember the first time I wrote it like 8 times because I'm a massive fan of coasters. I will go till I'm dead. I'll be 80 years old in a coaster.
You get excited to go do
Oh God, I love coasters. Love coasters.
I used to if I got good enough grades or my parents just felt bad for me, I would get a season pass to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, Virginia.
Busch was good.
And the
Big
Loch
Bad
Ness
Wolf.
Monster, classic. Big
Loch
Bad
Ness
Wolf,
Monster.
classic. They had one called Drakenfire that I think they eventually got rid of because it just kept giving people whiplash. But the cool thing about Drakenfire was like normally you have like a coaster and it goes up, then it goes down, and on the down that generates the momentum to do the loops. Drakenfire, you go up 150 feet, and the loop is at 150 feet in the air. You went so high when you did the loop, you could look and you could see our house. That's how high it was. That's how close we lived to Busch Gardens, right next to the brewery, which I later became a much bigger fan of.
Hey-o.
And you go down and you ride Drakenfire. So Drakenfire might be my favorite of all time.
Wow.
But I mean, look, I don't get out of bed in the morning thinking, when's my next visit to a coaster? But once I go to Disneyland, I get a little excited. I like the Scream one that's in the California Adventure.
That's good.
Right?
The Avatar ride at Disney World is surprisingly life-changing almost. Like,
Wow. Okay.
if I could do it every morning, I'm convinced I'd be a better, happier person.
Wow.
It's like therapy. You just feel free and you feel like you're really riding one of those little beasties through Pandora. It's beautiful.
I'll be honest, working at Universal Studios like I did for almost 2 years, maybe every day that I got off a little bit early from work, I would go and do Fantastic Voyage like 3 or 4 times.
In your Harry Potter garb?
No, of course you have to change clothes, but like, you can sneak into these rides because you know everybody who runs them, and so you just get the easy route in and jump in and just ride it I love riding that stuff. And people got sick off that, the 3D version of it. So there are great rides out there.
The Simpsons ride at Universal is really good, and the Mummy ride, pretty fun. Very short. It's like, and it's done, but it's
people wait in line
ride.
so long for that.
I know.
That's one that I'm like, nah, man.
That's you buy a fast pass, go to Universal. We're just giving you all these tips.
Yeah.
And now we go back to movies with the last row. Then we're going to take your live Twitter questions. Go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. And our last trailer is Fighting with My Family. There's a number of entertainment luminaries in this film, not the least of which is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson playing himself. This is a true story where you had British siblings. They got a chance to become WWE superstars. Written directed by Stephen Merchant, tall, slim, very funny comedian. He's writing and directing this one. Vince Vaughn also pops in as a rep for WWE. Nick Frost plays kind of the patriarch of the family, and it's based on a true story. So Rocha, you see this trailer, you know a lot more about the actual story than I. Did the trailer feel like it was faithful? Did it feel like it was fantastical and whimsical? Does it need to be based somewhat in reality for the wrestling movie to work?
Yeah, I know that's the tough thing for me on this side of the fence, because I know a lot about who this is based on, which is Paige. She's currently the general manager of SmackDown Live for WWE, and so she's had an interesting story getting to where she got. One of the youngest champions ever, came up from NXT on her first night in WWE. She beats AJ for the title, which was unheard of, and so she had a meteoric rise to stardom at a very young age. There's all this stuff that happened to her outside the WWE, which those who are fans know about, her recent relationship troubles, all that kind of stuff. So to me, I thought we were going to get a little more of a darker, grittier type of biography movie, in essence, about Paige. But this feels more like a family-friendly, like make you feel good, inspirational type of story. So, and The Rock, that's what he's known for. That's what he really wants to promote and push. So I'm not surprised by the trailer. I enjoy. It's a very funny trailer. Stephen Merchant, very funny guy. So it looks like he knew, the right buttons to hit to get jokes. My only issue with the trailer, honestly, overall, they gave away too much. Like the separation, like what happens between her brother and sister, how she gets selected over him. We should have seen that in the movie for people who don't know the story. So they have some surprises.
That would have totally blindsided me.
I would have liked that.
Because I knew nothing about this story. I mean, I remember talking about it on Movie Talk, and giving the broad strokes like what I just did, and that's pretty much it. I really liked this trailer. Thought it was funny. Thought it was a little heartwarming. I like seeing The Rock be The Rock in this. I like that it's playing off of how famous he is, but then also not everybody recognizes his voice if you see the trailer. So I think the acting looks good. I like the cast. I'm a fan of this movie now. I want to go see this movie. Haleigh Foutch, are you coming at it from my angle where I'm not that educated in the world of wrestling? Maybe that's why I enjoyed this trailer.
Definitely, yeah. I don't really know much about wrestling, and I enjoyed the trailer quite a bit. So I really like Stephen Merchant's stuff. I was a big fan of Extras when that was on, and I'm excited to see his brand of comedy pretty much anytime. And it looks charming and sweet, and maybe that isn't the real story, but maybe that's the story we need, Rocha.
Yeah, I know. And I say this for the Queen stuff. Like, I push back at people who said the Queen biography didn't go deeper. Bohemian Rhapsody, they didn't go into all this other stuff. And I actually enjoyed the hell out of that movie because it was fun, feel good, enjoyable movie about the Queen. This, only because I know the material this much more, but she has an inspirational story. So it is not a crime for them to use that as the basis for this movie. It's a positive movie in that way. And Florence Pugh, who I loved off Lady Macbeth, it was interesting that she was the one cast in this part. I would, if I get a chance to do this junket, by some chance to interview them, I would love to ask her about her transition from Lady Macbeth into something about like wrestling, how much training she had to do.
I genuinely did not recognize her in the trailer.
It's
amazing.
mind-blowing. Yeah.
You can really go say hi to your buddy The Rock, bring him that belt again.
One more time.
Is this story sanctioned by Paige? Are you aware?
Yes, she was involved with all of this creation of her family as well, and the WWE. So this is a conjunction. The WWE is making these slow steps towards legitimacy in the film and TV world. We know they do straight to DVD stuff and they do stuff on their network, but they want to become now a power player in, like Stephanie said this the other day, Stephanie McMahon, she said this, she wants there to be no difference between WWE and Disney within 10 years. That's a hell of a goal.
Hey, they're taking over the world. Next thing you know, they're going to infiltrate the NBA, and Kevin Durant and Draymond Green are going to be fighting. All right, let's remind you guys what's happening tomorrow on Collider. You're going to get Jedi Council. Hey, big news in the world of Star Wars. They cast Gina Carano is going to be in the Mandalorian show. I guess they'll talk about that tomorrow. Are we excited about this?
More excited for Pedro Pascal, but yes, Gina's great.
She can kick a lot of ass.
She can.
I like it.
Yeah, you put on the armor, she's going to be a feared bounty hunter in outer space. Got some Jedi Council tomorrow. Then we also have Riley Roundtable Sportsbook Thursday night. Current line on the Redskins-Texans game is?
3 points. Houston given 3 points.
Okay, I like being the underdog. And, of course, we'll have Movie Talk 4 p.m. in the PT. And now we move on to your live Twitter questions before we close up shop here. A tiny bit early today because, again, I've got that movie to go see. We go to Test Tickles. And Test Tickles at Tickles024 says, other than Overlord, what's your favorite zombie movie?
other than Overlord.
It's been a lot of
I thought it was going to be Nazi zombie specific. That's,
Dead Snow.
Nazi zombies, chimpanzee zombies. There's so many subphylum of zombies in the modern era. I mean, I go back to the classic. If I want a zombie movie, then I probably have to go with the one that started it all, Night of the Living Dead. I think it's such, and I said this in the top 10 horror movies, I think it's the most important, possibly horror movie ever made, one of the most important films ever made for a number of different reasons. And, you know, those are the kind of zombies that I like. Because those are the kind of zombies that I'm like, I got a fighting chance against. Or like Walking Dead walkers. I got a fighting chance against them. These new zombies, chimpanzee zombies, I'm toast in 30 seconds.
28 days later.
a good pick.
Good call.
That's the one. That to me it's fantastic. Good casts. I think Cillian Murphy's in the first one, if I'm correct. Yeah. And I remember driving down like to San Diego to see it opening night from LA because it wasn't showing in LA ahead of time, and so we went to a special screening down there to see it because the trailer looked so great, and it was worth the trip. It was worth the trip.
There you go. Do you want to go the route that we hinted at in the Fighting with My Family trailer? Nick Frost. He's been in a pretty good zombie movie.
Oh,
yeah.
that is one of the modern classics. Yes, Shaun of the Dead's amazing. My personal favorite's probably still Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which just tickled me when I saw it as a teenager and continues to. I like all, I mean, the original Romero trilogy. Day of the Dead is not as respected as it should be, really spectacular, and just some of the most ridiculously intense gore you will find in any zombie film. There's so many good ones. It's such a broad genre, and you talk about like the new phylum of zombies. There's one from the early 2000s. It's like zombie sheep from New Zealand called Black Sheep.
Oh,
that
Black Sheep was great.
Yes.
Black Sheep
There's
was great.
zombie sheep.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
We're checking out.
No, I'm not. The movie sounds cool. I'm just like, if we can't even trust our sheep, we can't even trust the nice animals to give us our sweaters. What are we doing with ourselves? Oh boy! All right, Chris El Guapo closes out that, and he says, "What's an underrated entry in an otherwise popular franchise?" He agrees with Haleigh, and he says that Covenant is a gem.
What?
A gem in the Alien series. So Chris El Guapo and Haleigh on that Covenant Island, along with what you said, 3 other people. I know a fair amount of people that really like Alien Covenant. So, but I would count that as a movie that maybe is a little maligned as far as the other more popular entries in that franchise goes. So, do you think of any other franchises that might have a
Well,
an
I
ugly
just
duckling?
did one, which was Day of the Dead, which I think deserves more credit.
That's okay, that's fair.
But I'll try to think of a
lot of people are Season of the Witch fans.
Oh,
You know, with Halloween 3.
I love Season of the Witch.
There you go.
Yeah, good pick.
John Rocha.
What do you want me to say? I can't think of any.
Like any of the,
I'll defend Thor: Dark World till I'm dead. A lot of people don't like that movie, and I enjoy Thor: Dark World a lot. And I don't know why people hate it so much. Maybe they weren't held enough as kids, but I just don't. I don't understand why people hate that movie. It's got so much to enjoy, and it's probably the best chemistry. Most believable Natalie Portman version of that character that she's going to do Jane Fonda. It's not ironic.
Out of your 2 picks.
Yeah, right. But I mean, because in the first movie, you can tell there's no chemistry there.
Yeah.
But in the second movie, her desire to get the answers for what she's trying to do is interesting to watch. And I like Chris Hemsworth. And I enjoy Eccleston playing the part that he plays in there, Malekith. So to me, I defend it because I love the Loki and Thor relationship as it progresses. And Loki's reaction to the death of his mom, like that is powerful, and it's what essentially brings them together and makes him a good guy in a lot of fans' eyes now.
That's right. That's why John Rocha drove all the way to San Diego to go see Thor: The Dark World opening. That's just the new thing. You and 96 friends all caravanning down to San Diego every time there's a big opening. I'm just taking the comic book realm and say, look, I like Justice League. What do you want to do? Sue me? You can't. I'm ending the show right here. For Haleigh Foutch, John Rocha, my name is Mary Mark Ellis. Throw it to the Y to say goodbye because we're going to remind you there's a Dumbo trailer tonight. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's episode of Movie Talk. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, viewers. And thank you, Mark. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.